Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Nicholas from Morales, and this is the second part of our tutorial series where we are building a clone of a RARIBLE as fast as possible because we're using Morales. In the previous episode, we started by authenticating the user with the MetaMask, and after the user has logged in, we present them with a button that says profile. So in this episode, we will start by building this user profile so that the user can see and view the avatar, the email, and the username. So let's get started with that. So here is our HTML file. Our project. So let's start by building the user profile. Let's start by doing a div. We can give it an ID of user profile, or like user, we can call it user info. And then inside here, we can just display to the user that this is in fact the user profile. And then we can build a input of type text, and that has an ID of text username. We can make it required since we always want a username to be present. We can give a placeholder that says enter username. Okay, that's it for the username. Let's do a second one for the email. So we copy this and we just change this to text email, and we don't want it to be required, and we say enter email. And since this is not required, we can just make a small text that says optional. Then we want to display the avatar. So we do img image, and we will not enter the source now because we will do it from the code. And we can just give it an ID of img avatar. And then we can copy one of the inputs, paste it down here, and we can change this to file, because this is the button where we select the file for the avatar if the user wants to change it. So we do file avatar, and there's no placeholder, but we can give a label. So label for file avatar, and the text can be select avatar. Okay, so now we have the username, the email, and the avatar, so that the user can see it and change it. We now need 3 buttons. We start by declaring a button that says logout, so that the user can log out. And we can give it an ID of btn log out. And then we need a second one that says close, because this will be shown when the user clicks the profile button, and we also want to be able to close this user profile. So we give it an ID of btn close user info. And then we want a button for the save. So when the user clicks the button, it will save this info. So button save, and an ID of btn save user info. Okay, that's it for the HTML. So we can copy the user info ID to main.js, and we will do a reference to it. So we can just paste it here, and then in the meanwhile we copy this, and we just replace this and this. So we can reference now user info instead of doing all of this. And then since this is now shown by default when the user loads the page, we want to hide it as soon as possible. So we use the hide element. We can copy this and we will do it in the init. So we will hide the user info. Next, we want a function that will open up this user info when the user clicks the profile button. So we can write that here. Open user info, and we set that equal to an async function. And what this will do is that we'll declare user equals to await Morales dot user dot current. So this will load the current user into this user object, and if we're not logged in, then this will be undefined. And if we are logged in, then we will have a user here. So we can check if we have a user. In this case, we want to show the element of user info. So it will display the user profile. If not, then we can log in, because the user is not supposed to be able to call this function if they're not logged in, and if they call it anyway, they probably want to be logged in, so we can just help them out with this. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is that we want to trigger this function when the user clicks the profile button. So we can copy this from line 42, the user connect button on click, and we can paste it here and change it to be connected to the user profile button. And when they click it, it should call the open user info instead, like this. And then we want to do the same with the close button. So we can just copy one of these like this, and then we say the on click, copy this like this, and we go to index.html. We copy the ID of the close button. We paste it here, and on the on click, we want to make an inline function. So the on click will be equal to hide element of user info. So when the user clicks the close button, it will call this function that will hide the element. Hope that makes sense. So now when this is done, we have implemented the close button. In this episode, we will also implement the logout button. And in the following episode, we will build the functionality so that the user can actually save the changes. So the first thing that we want to do now is that after the login function here, we're going to write a logout function. And it's very simple. So we just write await Morales dot user dot log out. Async. Okay, log out. And then after the user has logged out, we no longer want to display this user profile. So we want to hide it. So we can just copy this hide element user info. And then we can call the init user method. Why? I'll show you. Because init user takes care of displaying the correct button. So when we've logged out, we no longer get a user here. So it will show the connect user button and it will hide the user profile button. So we're back on like the initial load page. And so the last thing that we want to do before we try this out is that we want to connect the logout button. So we duplicate this, we go here, we copy the ID for the logout button, we paste it here, and the on click will just do log out. Okay, so let's try our application out now. So we refresh the page, and we see profile. This is where we ended last time. But now when we click the profile, we will see the user profile. And of course, it's not styled, but you get the point. If we press close, it will close the profile. If we press profile, it will open. We can log out. Now it says connect wallet. We connect wallet. We sign. We get the profile. We open the profile. We close the profile. Very good. So we have a nice flow now with the user profile all incorporated. In the next episode, we're going to implement, as I said, the functionality to load the user info when the user clicks the profile. And we will also implement the functionality to save what has been changed. So I'm really looking forward to continuing in the next episode with you guys, and see you next time.